Hello everybody, this is Diane. I am ready to list these 3 sewing theme journals in my shop. I still have the binder to create. Let me show that to you. Grab it here. I haven't started on this yet, but this will be the next journal that I make. So that's a big one. But I have these 3 smaller ones done. And before I show them to you, I'm going to show you the fabric bundles that I'm putting in my shop along with them. I've talked about this Simplicity fabric. In fact, I received some Simplicity fabric from Janet just before I made those journals, and I did use some of it in those journals. But this is what I had purchased in order to make some fat quarter bundles for you. When I did the French provincial bundles with the roosters and just the gorgeous colors, the coordinating fabrics went along with that fabric. They were created to go together. For this one, I just had this fabric, and then I got to have the fun of selecting some fabrics to go along with it. So I was looking for some fabrics that matched in color and also kind of in the retro mood. And to be kind of not in your face, but the colors are bright, but the patterns are subtle, more subtle. So anyway, let's quit talking and start showing. You get a fat quarter of this, so it's 18 inches by however wide the fabric, half of the width of the fabric. So about 22 inches. So it's a good size, and you get lots of squares you can use, or you could just make a journal cover with this, a couple of them, and it's just a beautiful fabric. So the fabrics I chose to go along with it are this red. I thought that looked retro, and a yellow polka dot, and this gorgeous blue. I think that one's my favorite. So you can see how they all look together here. And I was very pleased that I was able to find those colors and patterns to go with it. I have 7 of the bundles, but you don't just get the fabric. You will also get one of these packs of vintage Rickrack. So there's a couple of white ones. That one's more off-white because it's older. A pink. There's a blue baby Rickrack. Doesn't have the cellophane on it, but it's never been opened. I don't think. Well, this is taped on. This label is taped on, so some of this may have been used, but I don't know. And there's another blue Rickrack, and I love that label on that one, and a darker blue Rickrack. So you'll get one of these packs of Rickrack, and you will get one of these tags. You'll either get this one, and these are stamped by me, or you'll get this one. And one more thing you'll get in this bundle, and that is a vintage pattern. So if you followed along and watched the What Can We Do With Sewing Patterns series of videos, there are 3 videos of what can we do with sewing patterns. I'm gonna, along with this fabric, include a vintage sewing pattern that you can create ephemera with. So there's this one from the 70s. I think this one is also from the 70s. And probably that one. Although this one is in worse shape than that one. And this might be 60s or early 70s. I think I had a dress out of that pattern or something very similar. And that one's probably 60s, and that one. This pattern is in kind of tough shape, but you can still use all of the components just like I did in the other. There's a tear here, but you can cut around her, cut her out, and use her anyway. So that's the fabric bundle. The fabric, a pattern, a pack of Rickrack, and a tag. Now let's get into the journals. I have 3 journals, like I said. They are all one signature. I can't remember. I think there might have been 13 folded pages in the journals. So they're all made with a piece of cardstock on which I Mod Podged either the pattern instruction or the pattern tissue. So this one has the pattern instruction sheet on it, along with some vintage lace pieces and this little bit of rosette trim. And then I cut her out from a 1940s sewing pattern. I sewed all around the edge for some interest. There's fabric lining the inside of each journal. And this is a little fabric pocket. And here is a printable. And this is a tag. One of the projects that I made in those videos was a collaged background like this, and then I cut it into tags and cards. So that's what this is, and then I cut her out of a pattern catalog. I just thought she was so cute, and she just fit on there. I will put some seam binding in there. Here is one of the little flowers that I made in one of the videos. And this lady is cut from the 1969 pattern book that I have. And this is also from the pattern catalog. And there's one of the tags, like is going to be in the fabric kit. I don't know. I think this is a Stampin' Up! Paper right here. I also used I can't remember, Retro Chic sewing paper digital kit, and I will leave the link below because I can't remember. I told you in my first video which Etsy shop it was, but I don't remember. I did some stenciling. This one is some measuring tapes and then one of my lady stamps. This is a pocket that came with that digital kit, and a page from a Reader's Digest book about sewing. This is a card that I made with one of the collage pages, and these ladies are cut from the catalog, sewing pattern catalog. And this is a digital from Christy Arts Designs, I believe. They were just, I had some digitals left over from another project, but these I hadn't used yet. This is a digital of a button card and a little lace there. There's a stamp of a sewing machine. There's another piece of fabric. I mentioned that I got some of these fabric pieces from Christy at Ooh La La Crafts. I will link her shop below. She does not have these anymore, but she does have, she sent me these probably a couple years ago. She does have mannequin, like dress form pieces of fabric. So I just want to show you what she sent me. Some thimbles, some spools of thread. This one has needles and buttons. This one has measuring tape and pretty buttons. Sewing machine, which is that one there. This one, which you saw on the first pocket. And she sent me these squares, and I did use some of those as pockets, as you will see. And then this one. I think it's the same as the other one, but it's torn vertically instead of horizontally. This is from an authentic sheet of paper that I had, and it was to be cut apart, so I have some of those cards. And again, the collage paper, and this is cut from my catalog. Here's one of the pieces of fabric, the Simplicity fabric, and then this is another fabric that I received in a Happy Mail. This is also part of that digital kit. Seneca Pond Crafts, that's what it is. This is from a 1930s sewing book, and I just did a little fabric collage there. And here is a petal envelope from the kit, the digital kit. Another page from the kit and another envelope. I didn't put anything in the envelopes that came with the kit. You can put little tidbits in them. And there's a stamp, stenciling. This is from a Simplicity coloring book that I got on clearance at Joann's. And I did some Rickrack and fabric there. It's all fun and games until the bobbin runs out as part of the digital kit. This is a stamp. This is another sewing book. So I don't remember how old that one was, but it's an old one. Here I made a pocket out of a vintage seam binding label, and I just glued on this little, it was just a long, like a 12-inch strip that I've had for years, and you were supposed to use it for decorating a scrapbook page, but I just cut little bits of it and used it to decorate these pockets in all of the journals. Here's another thing you can do with sewing patterns. These images were actually from my pattern catalog, but you could certainly do this with the images on the front of a pattern, and that is to glue them to cardstock and just make a paper doll out of them. And here is a tag that I showed in a previous video with some pattern tissue and an image from a pattern. And this is one of the authentic cards. There's the center of the book, and it's got the measuring tape and some stamping. Now this page I put in upside down. The other side it doesn't matter, but on this side there was some writing here that was upside down. So I put this piece from a vintage pattern envelope on it. So another thing you can do with patterns is to use the envelope pieces to make collages on your pages. And this is a vintage spool darning cotton label. Coloring book page. More fabric and lace there. And here is a tag I made with the collage piece, and I added a piece of patchwork, vintage patchwork. She was cut from a sewing book, the Better Homes and Gardens binder, some rickrack and some buttons, and a couple of printables. This is a real button card. And another fabric flip. This is a different piece of fabric that I got from Janet. And a vintage library pocket that I covered with the sewing tissue, the pattern instruction, and a couple printables. And then this, let me show you these. These are little flowers with buttons sewn on them. There's 2 layers of fabric there for the flowers. And the buttons are hand sewn on, and they're stuck to these playing cards. And I got these from my friend Nancy up in Canada, and her YouTube channel is Wishes and Weeds, and her store, Etsy store, is Wishes and Weeds Store. I don't know if she has any more of these, but she always has really cool stuff in her shop. I've gotten things from her several times. That's just a tag cut from some leftover scrapbook paper and another authentic card. And on the back is just a tiny little envelope that came with the kit. It says artfully handcrafted exclusively by. And then there's a fabric pocket and another tag that I added digital from Old Design Shop. And I cut these buttons out of some scrapbook paper, and I cut her from a pattern. I believe that was actually from a pattern envelope. And I put some lace in that tag, and my signature's on the back of that. So that is the neutral colored one. I'm just going to name these by their color. This one is neutral. This one is pink, because she has a pink flowered dress, so I put her on pink cardstock. I used pink rickrack and some pink fabric on the spine. There's a vintage metal zipper there and a little applique, some lace. And as I said, this one is all collaged over with pattern tissue. It has pink seam binding, variegated. Here's one of those fabric squares that Christy sent me. And there's pink fabric on the inside. There's a authentique card. Hem your blessings with thankfulness so they don't unravel. And another tag that I made with this. This just has sewing tissue glued to it and a piece from a pattern for a bathrobe. This image is cut from my sewing book. I was trying to see if I put one in here. I did. That was one of the last things I did, was to go back and add these to the front pages. She's cut from the sewing catalog. This has a little doily on it, vintage. This is that Stampin' Up! Paper. This is a pocket that came with a Seneca Pond Craft digital. And this is from another digital that I got a long time ago. It might be from Sue, the innkeeper. And there is a playing card that Sarah sent to me. Thank you, Sarah. I did use the napkins too, but I used the napkins in, because Sarah sent me these napkins, and I used it on these tissue booklets or little folders, but I didn't use these in these journals because these journals are too small and those are too thick. But I'm going to use some of them in the binder. This is just a piece of grid paper that I folded over and cut into a tag shape, and I cut these cute little girls from my pattern book. And this is a piece of one of these sheets of paper, these types of paper from the digital, and I took one of these sheets and cut pieces out of it. So that's what this is. More fabric. The old sewing book. It's got some yellow lace there. There's a tiny little envelope here. And there's a stamp of those Simplicity ladies. Any day spent sewing is a good day. Here we have a label from grosgrain ribbon and another piece of that strip. And a paper doll cut from my pattern book. And I just made a tag with a really old pattern instruction piece. And this is a printable from Christy Art Designs. This one has like a folder. There were only 2 folders in the digital kit, so must be the pink one and the red one got the folders. Some fabric. I like this. I think we all need to remember that. D-O-N-E is better than P-E-R-F-E-C-T. Done is better than perfect. So don't stress about whether your project is perfect. Just make it. Because having it done is better than having it perfect. Here's a little tuck spot I made with another little girl cut from the binder page. And this is from the back of an old sewing pattern. It's kind of a thin paper, and it's the yardage requirements, and I sewed a piece of fabric to it. And this is one of the authentique cutouts and another little pocket envelope. There's a library pocket, and I used a doll dress pattern to put an image there. Some pretty lace and some pretty ribbon and a button. This is actually cut from this paper, an offcut from Stampin' Up. And another tag. This is actually Simplicity wrapping paper from Joann's. And then lastly we have the red one. I think this one is my favorite. I know pink is my favorite color, but I just love this cover. I love this lady in her red dress. I love the baby buttons. I love the red rickrack and the red rose there. And I like that. So I just love this cover. It's my favorite. This is fabric, another Simplicity fabric. I like to party. If by party you mean stay home and sew. In my case, it would be stay home and make junk journals. This one I forgot to put a piece of fabric or something behind the button. So that's what it looks like when you just use the tissue and the button. This is an old piece of scrapbook paper, and I don't even remember what the kit was, the paper pad or what brand it was. It's just old, I know that. Another one of those cute little corner pockets. This one is also from Christie Art Design, or not, I'm sorry, from Christie from Ooh La La Crafts, who sent me all those fabric strips, and this one was ironed onto some paper, so I used it as a pocket. This was cut from one of the pockets with the kit. This pocket was kind of odd the way it was folded. It didn't meet right, and so I just cut it apart, and that is from an old pattern envelope. This is a little pocket here, and this one is from I can't remember. Another fabric flip. And there's an envelope, a long skinny envelope. Another label. This one is for Rickrack. And here are the paper dolls I cut from my pattern book. You can journal on the back of these dolls. Another tag that I made. This one has a little scrap of that paper that I cut apart, the digital paper, and then this is cut from a scrapbook paper, that little sewing machine. And there's just a little snippet of Rickrack on that I found on my desk and glued on there. I'm still trying to remember the name of the digital of those little pieces. There were some I had left over. Here's the folder from that, for that journal. Housework only comes before sewing in the dictionary. And a digital from the Innkeeper, and another playing card. This is a card that I found at a flea market some time ago, and it's a girl sewing. It's a Renoir painting. And another little envelope there. It says hand sewn. A library card or pocket, and it's something papery. The paper that has the little speckles on it. And this is another one of Nancy's little flowers. I just showed these journals to my mother. My mother was a wonderful seamstress, and I knew she would enjoy seeing these, and she did. And she said this one reminded her of me when I was little. And there is the tag. It's another lady with the red. Oh, look. This is from the wrapping paper, and that's the fabric. I did not know I did that. That's funny. So in the shop you will find the fabric bundles and 3 fabric journals, red, pink, and neutral. I hope you enjoyed this series. I enjoyed making these, and we are not done with the sewing theme yet. As I said, I will be working on the binder next. And I look forward to showing you what I'm doing with that when I start doing it. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Have a creative day today. I will leave the link to my shop below. Bye-bye.